Hello to all of you wonderful moms out there. This is episode 59 of the Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life podcast. I'm your host, Anuki Kapasi. This episode is an interview that I had with Sara Moreira, host of the Hormone Health for Moms podcast. And during our interview, we talked about the importance of hormone balance for energy. I'm talking about the energy that you want for being productive so you can do all of that important work in terms of nurturing your family and creating impact in the world. Well, like me, Sara also emphasizes both a root cause investigation, and so in her line of work, that would be through functional lab tests and detailed surveys, blended with healing the whole body. So working at the whole body level instead of, playing like whack-a-mole with various symptoms. I think you're going to really find her advice useful because she also provides in this episode some very specific things you can start trying out right now without any fancy equipment, like simple, tactical habits. Oh, and did I mention, Sara is a former labor and delivery nurse. She's a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and a mom of 4. So she really knows what she's talking about. All right, get ready for this insightful interview. Are you looking for a way to blend success and motherhood without losing sight of who you are? I get it. I've been there too. Hi, I'm Anuki, a PhD researcher, business owner, and homeschooling mom of 2 boys. As your life coach, I help moms like you create a life you love at home and at work. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, overscheduled, and overlooked, and want a clear roadmap to a balanced life, a meaningful career, and finally feeling like yourself again while being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this journey to create the life you truly desire, it's time to rediscover your dreams and achieve your ambitious mom life. Hey friend, I know some of my favorite podcasts were discovered because someone like you shared them with me. If you're enjoying the show and finding value in these episodes, would you do me a quick favor? Take a moment to share your favorite episode with a friend who might need to hear this message too. It's super easy. Just tap that share button in your podcast app and send it to someone you think would benefit from it. Your share could be exactly what another mom needs to hear today. Thanks. I'm so excited about today's show because I have invited a special guest whose life mission is to help moms who are months or even years postpartum, but still feel exhausted, bloated, and stuck. As a former labor and delivery nurse and now functional health practitioner, Sara Moreira bridges the gap between what happens after delivery or even years beyond and what your body really needs to restore hormones, gut health, and energy. She is a mom of 4 who, walking through her own journey of postpartum depletion, where she was told that everything looks normal, but she didn't feel normal. She figured out how to work with her body and not against it. So now Sara coaches other women to do the same. Sara is also the host of Hormone Health for Moms, where she discusses all things hormones, digestion, and energy. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I'm so happy to have you on. So as I was reading your description, I kept thinking, come on, who doesn't feel this way? Like, who doesn't feel exhausted? I mean, just on a normal day of mom life, right?
Right.
And then, of course, to throw in that like extra wrench of your hormones feeling wacky, and even if you're not clued onto that, the fact that it could be your hormones that are imbalanced and thinking like, what's wrong with me, right? Man, your description really spoke to me.
As it does a lot of moms. Listen, I've been there and I get it. And mom life is exhausting. It just is, right? But we don't have to be suffering in pure exhaustion day in, day out. So I think there is a big difference. And, normal to have tired days, of course, we're busy, but it doesn't have to affect your whole life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yes, it's good to be able to delineate between just normal living, exhaustion at the end of a very full day versus, like you said, you're working against your body.
Right.
So let's dive in. I really want to be able to help our listeners restore their health. Our listeners are usually high-achieving moms, and they're really goal-oriented, and so they've got a lot that they want to do. And so I think that your advice and being a credentialed expert especially is going to be super useful. So I'm excited to start asking you questions.
Let's get into it. I'm excited.
Okay. All right. I tend to just dive right in, so I'm going to maybe give you a big one. I don't know here. But so a lot of moms are told by their doctors that, what they're feeling is just normal, right? They're just busy. Just kind of, we talked about, sometimes we don't even know that something deeper is an underlying issue. We just know that we feel exhausted and things kind of feel off balance, right? And sometimes it's hard to listen to your gut when a doctor's telling you something different, right? So what would you say to these moms who feel dismissed and maybe by conventional medicine, but want to restore their energy and their vitality?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I want to first off start by saying you're not alone in this. Like, it's so common, and I hear this all the time on both sides. Like, as you know, I worked as a nurse in the hospital for over almost 10 years and various areas, mostly labor and delivery, women's health. And so I saw that side of it where moms are getting 1 6-week checkup, right? After having their baby and kind of sent on their way. And when you go back and you have these symptoms of, maybe irregular cycles or worsening PMS, extreme fatigue, right? Weight loss resistance for some moms, you go in with these things looking for answers, and your labs look normal, everything looks great. So maybe it's just, maybe you're just tired because you're busy. And so the truth is that normal doesn't always mean optimal, and conventional medicine is really designed to diagnose and treat disease. It's not meant to look for underlying root cause and prevent things from happening in the future. So, I would say just know that there are answers for you, right? It's if your doctor's telling you that, have faith that there is a way out of this, and you just have to know how to support your body in the right way to get those answers.
Awesome. Yes. So actually, I want to take a step back because I read in your bio that you are a functional nutritional practitioner. So could you explain to me exactly what that is?
Yeah. So when I went to nursing school, I'll start here. As a nurse, as a registered nurse, we are licensed. We work under a physician in various settings. So when I switched over and became interested in functional health, essentially I went through a certification. So it's not a licensed position, but it's actually pretty cool because my title is FDN, Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioner, kind of a mouthful there. Mm-hmm. But essentially what we are trained to do is make recommendations. So we're not diagnosing, we're not treating anything, we're not acting as a physician or a doctor would. But it's pretty cool because we are using our knowledge and we're using functional labs and maybe mom's histories and symptoms and what's been going on with them to really look at the whole picture, right? Because as in conventional medicine, we are trained to look at problems. You come in with a problem, we look at labs and we fix that lab. Whereas in the functional world, we want to almost dig deeper than that. We want to look at, sure, you may be dealing with fatigue, but your root cause could be something totally different than the other mom that's dealing with the same thing. So as a whole, we are running a set of functional labs to look at the whole body as a whole and give balance back to the body in all areas rather than saying, it's your thyroid or it's your adrenals. We want to look at everything and create change in your environment, your diet, things like stress and sleep in all the areas and just really create balance as a whole.
Got it. That's really, really interesting. My mind goes in very academic directions. And so when you were talking about that, I couldn't help but think that a little bit of what I talk about as a life coach and my whole approach, this sort of critical thinking approach to things, sounds a lot like what you're talking about. Yours is being focused obviously in health and metabolism and energy and things, because I also am trying to help people with their personal growth and get to the root cause of the things that are stopping them from being able to take action in their stuff. And a lot of it comes back to asking questions so that they can get down to, going deeper and deeper and deeper down to their root cause. But I feel like I'm almost a functional health practitioner for people's goals. And you're just very specifically, when it comes to the goal of health, that's kind of like where your expertise lies. But it's just really interesting. And, I talk a lot about multidisciplinary and systems-based thinking. And it just makes so much sense when you talk about medicine really being so much more enhanced when you look at it as a person, as a whole body, and not just honing in on one part of the body.
Yep.
There are definitely times maybe that warrant that, but I really appreciate that approach and had been meaning to learn more about it anyway. So this is great.
Love it. Yeah, we definitely have a lot of overlap for sure. And moms need both, right? We need the health aspect, but part of health is your mental approach, the way your mindset works, the way we work through things and work through problems. So 100%, I love the work you do because like you said, it totally aligns with the health aspect.
So a lot of moms, especially moms that are just on the go and constantly trying to get a lot done, they really struggle with their hormones being imbalanced and feeling the fatigue, at the end of the day. They're trying to do all the right things and they're still not feeling like they're recentering and getting balanced. What are the most common root causes that you see behind these kinds of issues?
Yeah, so it's interesting because as a nurse, these things are all foreign to me when I learned them. So, when we look at the body as a whole, we look at what pregnancy does. One of the main things is we tend to lose a lot of minerals in pregnancy and then even after when you're breastfeeding. I mean, that takes a lot of energy. got to give a lot of nutrients to your baby and then to make food for your baby. So we are really coming out of pregnancy in this depleted state, essentially. And so one of the first things we look at is mineral status. Like, are you even nourishing your body enough? We are so depleted. And that depletion really leads to a lot of the fatigue and other issues, digestive issues, the hormone imbalance, it's all connected. And so that's one of the main things I would say. So another root cause of these issues is digestion. So we've all heard of the term leaky gut, right? It's kind of a buzzword at this point. But we all have leaky gut to a point, really because of not only our food, but our environment, the way we live day to day. Our modern life really just creates just not such a great environment for our gut health, our hormones and all that. So that's another thing I see is the leaky gut. And then the last big thing, not the last thing, but the last big thing I want to mention is circadian rhythm dysfunction. And this is huge for moms because cortisol is our stress hormone. And cortisol works on circadian rhythm. So we have a natural rhythm where cortisol rises in the morning. It wakes us up. It gets us going for the day. We need cortisol. But then through the evening, as the nighttime comes, we want that level to decrease, right? We don't want cortisol high at night. And so sometimes that gets flip-flopped and that causes, energy crashes through the day, blood sugar dysregulation, insulin issues, which can lead to insulin resistance. So many things that happen when our circadian function's off. And we can get into, why that happens because it's pretty interesting and can give moms a really easy way to kind of start shifting and fixing things. But ultimately, like I said, our environment is just really not supportive for these things that are going on postpartum.
Got it. Yeah. A couple of things came to mind when you were talking about this. I don't know if these were exactly the things that I might have been going through, but I know that I became a mom at a pretty late age, right? Because I was kind of career focused and stuff before that. But, I didn't really seem to have any trouble getting pregnant the first time round. It was as I moved into my second pregnancy that it was a bit of a journey. I'll just put it that way. And I do think that mineral depletion was kind of an underlying issue because I had to do all this research on my own and kind of learn how to get my sort of healthy status back through supplements and things. And there were other things that I did as well, but I did not really find a doctor where I could, because it wasn't anything medical per se that needed to be done, no procedure, no medicine. It was, like you said, you don't come off as necessarily being sick. But I had to kind of experimented with myself a little bit and found that. So, and once I did that, I found that things kind of worked itself out for me. It would have been great to know somebody like you back then.
I know. Same for me. I was in the same boat. So I get it.
Yeah. And the ironic thing on my end was I didn't necessarily have the healthiest eating habits before I became a mom because I was kind of a workaholic and kind of did what was easy and fast. And I don't really enjoy cooking, right? But once I became pregnant, I was really, really careful. Then I got into, clean lifestyle, I cared about what I put on my body, in my body, and that's when my digestion regulated itself. I had all of the constipation, bloating and all that kind of stuff beforehand. And then once I got pregnant, started eating much cleaner, much better. My husband, he's really great in the kitchen and he was supporting me as well. And we've kind of continued that journey since then because I noticed how big of a difference it made. So yeah, it's amazing. And the other thing is that one of the ways that I help moms is by aligning their time and their energy and all of their resources back to kind of the things that they value. And as you do with having moms kind of work with their bodies instead of fighting against, I have them work kind of with their identities and what comes natural to them. And when you're talking about the circadian rhythm and the energy levels, I feel like that is such an important component, more than just productivity, because time is something that you have a little bit of management over because you can choose how to spend your time or not. And your energy, you can absolutely do that. But it also has the less predictable element of your body, which you can't control. But knowing and educating yourself and working with somebody like you who has knowledge in the circadian rhythm, that's like having, a clock as a tool. Now you have this as a tool to help you balance your energy. So it's just as vital as managing time, I feel like, managing your energy.
Yep, definitely.
So kind of related to that, you focus on working with the body rather than against it. And I keep saying that because I love how you put that. So what are some practical ways that moms can support their body's natural rhythms while still pursuing their goals and these big audacious ideas that they're trying to achieve?
So there's a lot of different things we can do. These, like you said, for your own experience, these little changes made a big difference. And so I think there is something to coming to a practitioner to get functional labs and literally going through root cause. And that's a whole journey. And I think that is great and amazing. But so many moms can benefit from these small daily habit changes and see a lot of improvement, honestly, pretty fast. So, one thing is that your body thrives on light cues. And I know that might sound strange and a foreign concept to some people, but our mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of the cells. You may have heard them referred to that like in science class back in the day. So
I have a biomedical science background, so you're speaking my language, but definitely let's make sure everyone's on the same page.
Of course, yes. So I love it. So totally aligning here. And so the mitochondria need light cues from outside, from the sunlight, from natural light. And so one of the easiest things we can do is just get more time outside and live a more seasonally aligned life. And so the very first thing I have moms do is start going outside first thing in the morning, because that sets your circadian rhythm for the day, that sets your hormones, that sets your digestion. So it's almost, think of it, like you said, kind of like a clock. You go outside and you're telling the sunlight, the sun cues is telling your body, hey, it's morning time, digestion needs to start working. Like, let's get stomach acid going. Let's get hormones working the way that they should, because certain functions happen in the morning, certain functions happen in midday, later in the day, and then certain functions happen at night. So what is telling your body to do these certain functions? The light outside, whether it's light or whether it's dark. And we need both for those very different reasons. So that is one huge thing. Get more sunlight, get outside in the morning. Another thing is food timing. So a lot of people are saying, they tell me, I eat clean, I eat well, I've cleaned up my diet, but I'm still experiencing maybe fatigue or bloating or digestive issues, whatever that may be. And so one of the easy things you can look at is just food timing, right? Kind of going along with the light scenario, we are more primed to digest food better in the morning than we are in the evening time. And so I am a huge proponent of, first of all, eating a really good breakfast. And so for your audience that is high achieving, right? That loves to set goals and they're high achievers, they're working and they have families and they're just busy and they have busy lives. One thing you could do is stop skimping on breakfast, because that is how you not only set your blood sugar for the day, but that sets your mood for the day and gives your mitochondria those signals. It tells your metabolism, hey, we're safe, we have food, we're nourished, we're good. Whereas when you skip breakfast, that shoots cortisol way high, your stress hormones, your body's like on alert almost. And then it becomes that your appetite kind of shuts down, because cortisol is an appetite suppressant. So now you're not hungry in the morning and you think, well, I'm busy in the morning anyway, I'll just skip breakfast because I got to rush to get to work, get the kids ready, like whatever it may be in the morning, rather than sitting and setting your day up right. And then what happens? The cravings come later on when we haven't been nourished, because now your body's like, oh, my blood sugar is low. It's saying, hey, I need food. I need sugar. And so that's what you're going to crave. You're not going to crave, a great meal. You're going to crave the quickest energy that your body can find, coming in the form of, junk, typically for us in our modern day, and then keeping on that as we move into the evening time in our culture in America, it tends to be that dinner is our biggest meal, right? Mm-hmm. We come home from work, we sit down with the family. Okay, we're going to have a big dinner. And it sometimes can be 7 or 8 at night, depending on your work schedule and what time you get home with the kids and all that. And as hard as it may be in the beginning to kind of shift this mindset, we really should be eating our biggest meal earlier. Front load your calories morning and afternoon. That way for dinner, you're not coming home starving, raiding the cabinets, kind of just throwing whatever together that you can because you're just so hungry and your blood sugar needs support. When you support with a good breakfast and a bigger lunch than just a salad, we're used to like, oh, lunch is quick, lunch is just whatever kind of things I can find. When you really support those two meals, dinner doesn't become such a rushed thing. And we can actually, we actually feel good and nourished, and to where dinner doesn't have to be a huge thing. And then we're craving dessert and then it's all heavy in the evening time when digestion is honestly really trying to slow down at that point. Right? When the sun starts going down, we also need those cues. So now cortisol can come down, melatonin can increase and help you get ready for the nighttime. So hopefully that helps for your audience, because I think that's just some things that gets missed when we're only relying on what we're eating rather than when and how we're eating.
Yeah. I noticed that for myself, I can't eat. Well, I can eat after 8 o'clock. I found that I'm not really comfortable eating after 8 o'clock. Yeah. And so if for whatever reason, a meal is late for whatever reason, then I will opt for a smaller meal. But I noticed that, like, if I have to get up in the middle of the night for any reason, I can feel the heaviness of the food in me if I eat late. So I've kind of figured out to not eat past that time. I just through experimentation. Again, I didn't have expert guidance, but it's kind of interesting that through experimentation, I kind of came to the same thing.
And you got to listen to your body, right? Like, and you did that. And so sometimes it's about slowing down and just listening, because your body will give you those cues when we slow down enough to listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, though, I think that might help for anyone listening to this is, at least in our family, dinner time tends to be family time. That's my whole thing, like, because we tend to have different schedules throughout the day. And even if I'm with the kids, my husband has other obligations during the day. So at nighttime is really the meal where we're all sitting down together. But what I found is that when we put the care into the meal that we cook for dinner, and we focus on quality, and we're sitting down together as a family, there's a social and bonding aspect to it that we don't tend to overeat. It's when we're slapping the food on a plate and sitting in front of the TV or something, because we just have one of those days where it's just chaos, then, you just tend to just keep chowing, right? So I think, like you said, it's also how we eat. I think one component of the how we eat is things like, not necessarily that it's specifically about the food, but the things that go along with the food and the meal.
Yep.
Anyway. Totally. So for moms who are dealing with stubborn weight, which you kind of refer to a little bit, I think that's a big one for many of us, that number on that scale just won't budge. Despite, eating clean, that is a huge focus on a lot of the moms that I work with. They are trying to build a healthy lifestyle, and eating clean is one of the big things that shows up. So what underlying hormone imbalances could be at play there?
Yeah. So, the main thing that is going on usually is insulin. So insulin, cortisol, those are really big hormones. You could think of them as they're on the top of the hierarchy when it comes to hormones. You have cortisol, insulin at top, and then like our sex hormones at the bottom. And so really, if you want to control those sex hormones, which are, controlling our cycles and all those things, we want to look at the hierarchy up top first. And so cortisol, insulin is something that we really want to focus on. Now, I will say there are usually two different categories of moms that I see dealing with weight loss struggles. Your audience will likely relate to the second one. But, the first mom is maybe thinking that she's eating healthy. This was me for so long, thinking I'm eating healthy, but really I'm not. And when I started tracking, when I started actually looking at my day, it was a lot of eating out, even though I told myself, we don't eat out that much, but it really was a lot. And you'll find that when you're eating out a lot, because it's quick and easy, the calories can go high really quickly. And not that everything's about calories. We're here to talk about hormones, but it is something that matters. But where hormones really come into play is the other side of the coin, when moms are going down that clean eating route and they say, okay, I'm going to clean up my diet, and they start eating clean. It's really hard to get to your calorie goal when you're eating clean. You realize like, oh, I have to eat so much more food when it's actually healthy, because processed food and eating out is so high calorie. And so the volume has to increase. And so what happens is over time, moms actually are usually under fueling, especially moms that are busy with work, busy with kids, life, all the things. And so we really have to just kind of see where you fall in that. For moms, I would say tracking is not something I do all the time with my clients, but it can be such a helpful tool just to kind of just get data on like where you are. And I know you can probably appreciate the data side of things. We do want to listen to our bodies and have that intuition, but we also sometimes need the analytical side as well. And so seeing where you are in that, and when we're chronically skipping breakfast, undernourishing, minerals become depleted even more, what happens is our metabolism kind of comes to a halt, because it's like, I don't know if I'm going to get food. Our bodies are very intelligent. They're made to always try to get into balance. Our body's not working against us. We are the ones that are kind of creating the chaos with our environment. And so that's the one thing I would say for anyone dealing with weight loss struggles, is to just kind of look at where you are. And if you are under fueling, my first step would be to kind of realize that and start paying attention. And the first thing you could do is just start eating breakfast, because that will have the best domino effect on the rest of your day and make you feel nourished and supported without feeling starving by evening time.
Got it. Yeah. And so it sounds like a lot of this stuff is connected, right? I mean, energy, weight, and hormones. So when a mom comes to you and you're coaching her, do you tend to make sure you address all of those things? Or if there is a very specific thing that she needs help with, do you just hone in on that one sort of pathway, I guess? Yeah,
that's a really good question. So it's going to be looked very, very different for each mom, because everyone's different. We have different lifestyles. We have everything, going on is different. So I have a method that I use that it's called the REST method. We go through specific phases. And so I do follow that. But what I'll do is I take a pretty extensive intake for your day, what your day looks like, what your eating style looks like, all those things, and then kind of see the biggest roadblocks to your health symptoms, because I want moms to have quick wins, right? I want you to feel good fast so that because healing is a journey, right? And if you are really dealing with these underlying hormonal issues, it is going to take time. So if we can get moms the quickest wins possible in terms of energy, that can give a little motivation to really stick with things. And so, yeah, I think just like I said, looking at for this specific mom, hey, what what's stopping you from having energy? Like, what are those big red flags that I see that we can easily just adjust in order to give you some more energy? Because if you don't have energy, it's going to be really hard to be motivated, right? And like going back to, we want to work with the body rather than against it. We want to give you energy. We want to support your body so you don't have cravings, instead of saying, just don't eat the chocolate, just don't eat it. I love chocolate, by the way. I eat it all the time. I'm nothing against chocolate, but in general, it's just looking at it that way. And that we tend to be able to stick to things and have a lot more consistency when we look at it as a whole like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I mentioned that I went through my own digestive health journey, but many of our listeners are experiencing these digestive issues alongside their hormone challenges. So how are gut health and hormone balance connected, and what can moms do to support that?
Sure. Yeah. So this is very common. For me, I started with gut issues that later turned into hormonal issues. So this can happen, or vice versa. And so really your gut is where hormones are metabolized, but also eliminated. So if your digestion is sluggish, or you have a lot of inflammation or anything like that, estrogen, for example, a lot of common complaint that I get is I have heavy periods now. They're just awful since having my baby. And a lot of times estrogen is being reabsorbed rather than being detoxed properly. So those two things, if the gut is a mess, we can't detox hormones properly. Gut digestive issues usually ties pretty closely with liver dysfunction too. So not liver dysfunction in terms of what your doctor would tell you, but a sluggish liver that we can see in terms of our functional labs. Your labs might look perfect. Your liver has to be, I forget the percentage, it's really crazy. It's over 60% dysfunctioning to even show on traditional lab work, which tells us a lot. So we can do a lot of support before we even get to that point.
I found that to be true in the minerals and kind of side of things too. The medical reference point for you being depleted in certain vitamins and minerals is when you have a serious disease then.
Right, exactly. They're looking for you to be in a state of dysfunction so that they can act on that, because no fault to their own. This is how we're trained in conventional medicine. And like you said, you had mentioned, there is a place for conventional medicine, of course. And, I worked with moms having babies, and sometimes C-sections are warranted. And I worked with kids with heart transplants. Those are obviously warranted, but this is something just different, and it's more preventative. And so,
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I come from I was trained through the traditional medical side of things.
Yeah.
I consult with pharma companies and stuff, but what you're saying is exactly right, because you want to catch it at the stage where you can prevent it from becoming dysfunction. So you want to have a more sensitive threshold than the dysfunction state. I'm already like sirens going off, emergency level. Yeah, we
want to avoid the hospital. We want to avoid doctors, right? We may need it one day, and that's okay, but we want to try to avoid as much as possible and get back to a state of optimal health, right? And your listeners can definitely relate. You guys, are high achieving moms, right? We need energy. We need to feel good. We need to feel optimal in order to live that lifestyle. So it may be different from other moms who, there are just some people that are always going to be only following the conventional route. It's just the way it is. But when you're ready to look at this other side of things, it does open up a whole new world to how you can live your life actually feeling good and not feeling miserable. So it is really great to open up to that.
Yeah, I think there's a place for all kinds of thinking, diversity of thinking. And I think that the two systems, specifically the conventional and the functional route, are complementary. I think they can really work together. And in general, I think that a lot of us that have all these big goals and are constantly trying to plan for them tend to be researchers as well. Like we like information. And if we don't have it, we have to dig for that information. We will until we feel like we are on solid ground. And so why not have this second line of information coming to you to help you restore your health?
And listen, you can have both too. Like, I have clients that not always, but there are a lot of situations where I will refer out to a doctor. I'm working with one mom now who has endometriosis. She's working alongside her OB and a doctor. And so there's definitely room for it. Not all doctors will be open to working with, alongside of us. But we are willing. We want all bases covered. And so we have our role and they have their role, and both definitely needed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right. I have one more question for you. It's something that I tend to ask everyone that comes on the show. As I mentioned, I teach moms how to live a meaningful life by showing up authentically at home and at work. So I just want to find out from you, Sarah, what does it mean to live a meaningful life and to be able to create impact?
I love that question. I probably would have changed my answer if you would have asked me maybe a year or two ago, but I'm in this position now kind of along the theme of working with your body. So to live a meaningful life really, to me, is just being aligned with who God made you to be, and knowing that God made us perfect and to be able to heal, right? For the body to be able to balance. So not being burned out by trying to meet everyone else's expectations, because that really aligns with health. And if you're always trying to meet other people's expectations or have people pleasing tendencies, you're going to be off balance, right? And in health Absolutely. Too. So it's just about, for me, being present with your kids, with your family, showing up for yourself, trusting that you can take care of your body. You have ownership over that. And so to give yourself back the power to be able to create a life that you feel good living. Feel good health-wise, but also in other areas too. So that would be my answer.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I really love what you just said. And to me, when I became a mom, that's when I learned I actually have a lot of ownership over my body. I feel like up till then, I was kind of like, I happened to be fit and healthy and whatever, but I really didn't think specifically about what I could do to keep myself healthy until I became a mom. And so I really like what you're saying and appreciate having people like you who can help support moms.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I'm here to do.
All right. So thank you so much for making the time to be on the show.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Loved it.
Yeah. Well, it was really helpful to hear, especially from, a credentialed expert like you, to hear what your values are and all of these very specific tactical things that we can do as moms in general, but, especially goal-oriented moms. And where can my listeners find you?
Sure. You can find me on Hormone Health for Moms podcast, which I'm excited to have you on a guest soon as well. We talk about all things hormones there, gut issues, detox, digestion, all the things. So you're definitely welcome over there. I do have a free private Facebook group for moms. So we have a lot of moms in there that we can go a little deeper on these topics. I like to help more with implementation there. And then on my website, saramoreirahealth.com. And that's where you can find me.
Perfect. I will have all the links and details in the show notes. So that's perfect. All right, ladies, there you have it. That was Sara Moreira of Hormone Health for Moms. I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and tell other purpose-driven mamas about it. Who knows? You might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. I'll see you next week for another episode of Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life with Anoki Kapasi.